Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. Sorry. Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. Today is December 19th, 2023. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Just to let you guys know, the Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms. So go ahead, subscribe to me there. Also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can typically see me there on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful afternoon. Wonderful, wonderful day. If you guys have not already, you guys can subscribe to my Substack. You guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com just so that you guys are aware of whenever I go live or upload clips. Thank you so very much in advance to all of you for being part of that as well. I appreciate it very much. Just let me check something right here. Okay. I just want to make sure I get this. Just give me 1 second. Let me see. I messed something up for myself, actually. Make sure. Okay. Good to see all of you here. Let me see. Okay. Good to see all of you here. And if you guys have not already, make sure to give the stream a quick like while you're here. So good to see all of you. Now, as per usual, whenever I do go live, I am going to say hello to everybody that's in the chat. So far, we have starting us out with CBC Voter coming in saying happy Tuesday at JB. I got the light in my eyes. Light in my eyes. Good to see you in the chat. Sean Miller, unfortunately, the emoji doesn't show up, but good to see you as well. I'm pretty sure you're saying peace. Good to see you as well. Janice Anderson comes in and saying hello to Sean. Good to see you, Janice. Good to see you spreading the love already. And happy day off to you, Janice. Notori coming in with the hearts and love. Good to see you. And yes, I know you got your T. All right. Terry Connolly coming in saying, good afternoon, comrades. Absolutely. Terry Connolly is always a win. And speaking of wins, Waddy's coming in saying, hey, everybody, so good to see you in here as well. Mwah, good to see all of you here. Forehead kisses to every single one of you that's joining here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rockfin, and Rumble as well. What are we going to be talking about today? Let's get into it because it's going to be a couple of quick stories that we're going to be getting into that I actually wanted to talk about that came across my view. So what are we talking about today? We're going to be talking about Yemen is about that life. Oh my God. We could be talking about this. This is going to be our primary story for today. And I cannot wait to get into this, baby. We're going to be talking about what's going on in the Middle East. And look, they said, break me off a piece of that. Can't wait to get into it. Then after that, we're going to be talking about next. For now, we're going to be talking about political power. Interesting turnaround. Something has been going on in Florida that I saw. I was just like, what? No way. We're going to talk about that. I don't know why. I've been having the sniffies lately. But FP&L stands for Florida Power and Light. If anybody knows anything about FP&L, it is a very large utility company in the state of Florida. Depending on where you live, you can either have FP&L, you can have Orlando Utilities Commission, or you can have Duke Energy. So there's one of those three. And when it comes to utilities companies in Florida, it's not like you can have a choice. You can't just say, well, I live in this area and I can choose between Duke Energy, Orlando Utilities, or FPL, right? You can't make that choice. The only choice you have is where you live, depending on the power company. And there can be a discrepancy, right? It could be, well, I can live in this place and I can rent from this area, or I can buy a house in this area, but because of that place where I'm trying to live, I don't have a choice of where I get my utilities from. I only have a choice in what area I live in, and you're stuck with whatever utility company has jurisdiction over that region. It is basically monopolized by which particular region that you live in. That being said, when it comes to your choice, that is really out of your hands. So for areas like mine, people are forced to go with Orlando Utilities Commission, right? For some others who are a few miles away from me, they may only have Duke Energy because that's the only game in town that you can actually get your utilities from. Or others further south may only be able to get FPL, Florida Power and Light. So that's how the game is played here in Florida. With that being said, there was a news report that came out recently from Orlando Sentinel talking about what happened in regards to the former CEO of FPL and some political corruption. So we're going to go over this. This is out of the Orlando Sentinel. It says former FPL CEO sold $5.4 million in company stocks as ties to political scandals became public. Suit accuses Eric Seliggy of securities fraud, citing his advanced knowledge of Orlando Sentinel reporting. So let's get into this. It says former Florida Power and Light CEO Eric Seliggy made $5.4 million by unloading his company's stock as ties between the utility and political consultants who orchestrated a controversial 2020 ghost candidate scheme were spilling out into the public, a new lawsuit alleges. The lawsuit, filed by the group investors who purchased securities from FPL's parent company, on a Seliggy sale of 62,480 shares of the utility stock in December 2021, the largest number of shares he had bought or sold since becoming an officer in the company in 2012. FPL executives initially denied knowledge of ghost candidates, but when the companies finally acknowledged the allegations, the stock price slid markedly. The suit was filed in the federal Southern District of Florida by people who acquired securities in the parent company, Next Extract Energy, between December 2nd, 2021, the day that Seliggy made the sale, and January 30th of this year, shortly after Next Extra announced Seliggy's departure from the company. Since 2021, Orlando Sentinel has reported extensively on political tactics employed by consultants working for Alabama-based Matrix LLC, including funding ads promoting 3 independent ghost candidates who ran for highly competitive state Senate seats but did not campaign for the office. The scheme apparently was intended to help Republicans win the seats in 2020 by siphoning away votes from the Democrats in those races, including one in Central Florida. So basically, what we have is a conflict of interest and ties to putting in ghost candidates for a Senate seat from people who are involved in utility companies in Florida. So when it comes to FPL, This is one of the reasons why people like myself say that these companies should not be tied to any type of private equity, which FPL is, and it should not be privately owned. Private ownership, or what some people like, oh, it's not privately owned, it's publicly traded. Still, it's still in the hands of private people. It should be publicly owned and operated. Just full stop. Because then they would not be tied to trying to make as much money. And on top of it, they would not be trying to put the government in the hands of certain politicians in order to make more money or to have more lax policy when it comes to regulation. All these different things that happen in regards to public regulation, right? Because a lot of times, what do these companies usually do? They usually want to put certain politicians in power so that it makes it so that they're more lax when it comes to regulation, right? FPL wants to have more lax in regulation so that they will have to dole out money for safety regulation so that they end up making what? Profit, right? That's ultimately where it lies. So that people like the former CEO, Siligi, can make more profit for the company. Why? Because he has a fiduciary responsibility to make more for these corporations. FPL is no different, right? And so because it's independently owned or is privately owned, right? The shareholders of FPL or Next Era wants to make as much money as they possibly can. So that's how it goes. And so because of that, it's like, okay, we want to push this particular political candidates so that we have more power in the government so we can have more money come into our coffers. That's ultimately what this is about. And it's no different. It's just political corruption through and through. Whether it's at the citywide, statewide, or nationwide, that's how it goes. So let's continue in a little bit further into this article because this goes deep. It says 5 people have been criminally charged in connection with the scheme, including 2 of the ghost candidates. No one at FPL has been accused of wrongdoing by authorities, and the company has said an internal review cleared its employees. I would much rather have an independent investigation of someone outside of the company. That's my particular opinion. Because the thing is that they can have internal reviews and say, well, nobody did something wrong, but somebody from an outside source, an outside entity can be like, bullshit, there's actually some wrongdoing that's been done by people within the company. But the company doesn't want to get its hands dirty, of course, because guess what? Then they don't want to have to pay out those fines or criminal time. I say roast them. That's how I say. I'm trying not to cuss, so bear with me. But let's continue on in the article. It says the connection between utility and the consultants began to become public in mid-2021 when Matrix sued now former consultants, accusing them with conspiring with a client to cheat the firm out of fees. This is from the Orlando Sentinel. It says the lawsuit didn't identify that client by name, but it said it was a publicly traded company based in Juno Beach. Based in the Securities and Exchange Commission records, SEC, Next Era Energy was the only publicly traded company with headquarters in the small Palm Beach County town. Now, it says on September 2nd of 2021, a little more than a month after the civil suit against the Matrix Consultants was filed, Siligi indicated that he planned to sell 62,480 shares of Next Era stock on December 1st. The suit targeting Siligi, FPL, NextEra and the other utility executives zeroes in on the date of the sale, noting that it was one day before the Sentinel published their story, showing FPL had given more than $10 million to dark money groups controlled by Matrix consultants in recent years. That story largely was based on records anonymously delivered to the Sentinel in late 2021. Says the timing and size of the sale were unusual and suspicious. The attorneys representing the plaintiffs wrote in the complaint, which notes that Siligi would have known about the story because he was asked to provide comment. So, of course, Siligi had departed from FPL earlier this year. Let's continue here. It says NextEra stock price plunged 8.7% on this news, decreasing investor value by $14 billion, the largest one-day decline in the last 25 years, other than major markets moving like the global financial crisis, which happened in 2008, and the pandemic. So who is this hurt? It says the City of Hollywood Police Officers Retirement System, which you all know how I feel about police. It's no surprise. Anyway, but the one I'm concerned with is the Pembroke Pines firefighters and police officers pension fund have been asked to become the lead plaintiffs in a class action suit. So my concern is for the firefighters. That just lets you know where I stand. Because between the firefighters and the people who deliver our mail, those are the boys in blue and women in blue that I actually care about. Anyway, it says they seek damages and amount to be proven by a jury trial, as well as attorney fees and other legal costs. So the suit names NextEra, FPL, Siligi, as well as NextEra Energy CEO James Robo and Chief Communications Officer Dave Reuter as defendants. The second amended complaint filed earlier this month alleges the defendants violated provisions of the Federal Exchange Act, prohibit misrepresentations and misleading omissions in the connection with the purchase of sales of securities. So it says the ghost candidate scheme was not the only political scandal involving FPL. Leaks from Matrix revealed Siligi at times used pseudonymous. Gosh, I can't talk today. Pseudonymous email address to communicate with Matrix operatives, including to receive a proposal in late 2019, how FPL money could be secretly filtered through a network of entities to make political contributions. I'm going to read that again. Including to receive a proposal in late 2019 for how Florida Power and Light money could be secretly filtered through a network of entities to make political contributions. It says utility executives also were in close contact with consultants as they surveilled Florida Times Union columnist Nate Monroe, who had written critically about FPL's attempts to sway Jacksonville City Council members as it tried to acquire the city-owned utility. So, this is bad for them. It's bad for them. And this is one of the reasons why I talk about private equity owning utilities should not happen. It's funny because people will talk about how capitalism, it provides, innovation and competition. And yet the people who are under FPL, as far as their utilities are concerned, they actually don't have a choice. And yet, capitalism provides competition. Competition, my foot. Because when you look at the money that they get, really, FPL gets their money from monopolization. So the billions of dollars that they get from utilities, and because they're privately owned, then guess what? They're moving things into a political direction that's better for them. That's better for the shareholders. It's not better for the people who get utilities. The people who have to pay for these utilities, are they spending less on their utility bills so that they can have more money in their pockets? What about the workers? Are they suddenly making more? The people who work in billing, the people who work on the power grids and the power lines, are they making more? People who work in the offices? No, they're not really making more. So all these Floridians that suddenly would do better as far as their utility bills are concerned, no, screw them. And then you have people like Siligi and FPL try to put in ghost candidates that aren't even really campaigning. It's wild. The corruption just goes through the roof. I looked into Next Era. First, before we get into that, let's take a look at FPL profits, because I saw this. I took a look at this. I was like, what is their profits? I was just like, I'm sure they make a lot. Just a quick Google search. Get on the Google machine. It says FPL, Florida Power and Light, reported second quarter 2023 net income of $1,152,000,000 or 57 cents per share, compared to $989 million or 50 cents per share for the prior year comparable quarter. As America's largest electric utility, FPL's growth in the second quarter of 2023 was principally driven continued investment in the business. So this is just second quarter. Take a look. So they are making some serious dough. Serious dough. So when anybody talks about, oh, well, they're not making that much, they're making a lot of money already. So one of the things that I want to share, because it's all connected, we got to talk about the connection, people, is this. Who owns Next Era? I'll keep on and call him Next Gen. Who owns Next Era and FPL, Florida Power and Light? Because it's not the citizens, it's not the state, it's not the municipalities. It is a particular company. Y'all know exactly where I'm going with this. In fact, before I go there, who owns it? Put in the chat right now, or if you're watching later, put in the comments who you think it is. Who owns it? Give me some names. I know y'all know. Y'all see exactly where I'm going with this, because you guys are brilliant. You guys are smart. Tell me, who do you think owns? Who are some of the owners? And yes, Soul Construct, FPL is a scam. Yeah, and the thing is, it's a scam you can't run away from. That's the problem. Can you agree, guys? Janice. Uh-oh. 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 Let's go. Let's go. Let's take a look into it. Because the thing is that we gotta see. We gotta know who actually owns the companies that affect our lives. All right. Let's go. Let's take a look. Next Era Energy Incorporate, right? Let's go down. Wait, well, what do you know? Who is at the top? The Vanguard Group with 9.22% of stake. They're stakeholders. They own 189,057,000 shares. Total value and money is $11,061,725,070. That's how much the Vanguard Group owns in Next Era. Who's next? BlackRock. Boom. They own 4.96% of over 101 million shares. Total value $5,959,379,185. Is it no surprise that even our utilities are owned by these private equity firms? These private equity firms that own over trillions of dollars in assets in our country. And then these same companies are the ones that own our politicians, that make it a vicious cycle of, okay, so we're going to buy up the politicians, then they are going to force, they're going to make it so that we ultimately are the only game in town, and then we siphon all this money out of the workers, but then they have to use our utilities, which means we siphon more out of them, and it's a vicious cycle that goes over and over and over, again and again and again. And so then guess what? Ultimately, when you pay your electric bill, you're paying Vanguard, you're paying BlackRock, you're paying all these companies. And then they also pay the politicians, buy up your politicians, so then they continuously work against you. Right? So then when you don't have health care for all in Florida, when your housing goes through the roof in Florida, right? When your boss isn't paying you enough of the living wage in Florida, then guess what happens? It's because BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all these big private equity firms are making it so that you can't own anything and you can't live a productive life as a citizen, because ultimately they want that money coming to them. Your money, you're paying a tax, and that tax isn't necessarily going to the government entities. It's going to Vanguard. It's going to BlackRock. It's going to State Street. It's going to them, because they ultimately are the ones who are your rulers. That's who it is. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Because these are also, and remember what I talked about last week about how these are the same people that also own the prison industrial complex, that own the private prisons, that are also owners of the independent record companies, that are also tailoring our hip hop into a certain direction so that they can keep us in those prisons. They're the same ones that are also owning our utility companies, like Florida Power and Light. And this is why whenever you try to talk about, and remember, when I had on people like Nelson Betancourt, when we were talking about public banks, and KD Lewis, who was on here a couple weeks back, he also wrote an article about that, about my interview with Nelson Betancourt, talking about how having a public bank would be great for us. And a public bank could also be great for us as far as our energy infrastructure here in Florida, because it talks about building up infrastructure. Well, companies like FP&L, they don't want to hear things like that, because then that means that will be taking money out of their pockets, out of their private, grubby, little greedy ass hands. So ultimately, when it comes to things like this is why, and I know Roger's in the chat, but this is why also, if we can kind of mitigate some of the damage by having CBIs, direct ballot initiatives, so that we can take these energy companies out of the hands of these private corporations, out of these private equities, and put it in the hands of the people. Number one, the decisions will be made by us, especially from an environmental standpoint, because these companies use fossil fuels in order to be able to power our homes. So they're also damaging us when it comes to our environment, but also we're paying through the nose. We're paying through the nose for our utilities. And I would hate to see a bill from somebody who gets FPL, because they probably are suffering right now. And then some of us, we have to use LIHEAP 2 times a year. If you guys do not know what LIHEAP is low-income housing energy assistance. And you can only use it twice a year. You can only apply for LIHEAP twice a year. So some of us who are poor, we only can get assistance for our electric bills 2 times a year. So then what? You're stuck with paying high-ass electric bills for what? So these people can get rich, and then they can actually fund our elected officials? Absolutely not. We need to have municipal and statewide ownership of our utility companies. They should not be owned by these corporations. So then we as a people can actually have more direct democracy over our utilities. And I also include this with internet companies. If we're going to have AT&T and Spectrum and Comcast, then they need to be people owned, community owned. And on top of that, if it's community owned, that means there's no fiduciary responsibility to shareholders. That means the money stays with us. That means that we save more, which means that if there's no profit, that means that we only need to pay for operations, repairs, and maybe have an emergency fund. That means all that profit that would have been used for that goes back into us as savings, which means we don't pay as much, which means more money in your pocket. Because ultimately, that's what it's about. Because we're sick and tired of being shafted by these companies. So that's what's happening here in Florida. And I bet you it's happening in many other places in the states around this country. I bet you it's not just FPL. I bet you it's happening in other states. It could be happening in North Carolina. It could be happening in Texas. It could be happening in North Dakota. Well, North Dakota, maybe they probably could do stuff with their, because they have oil and things like that. So they're probably faring a little bit better. But it's probably happening in Michigan. It could be happening in Arizona, Wisconsin, Washington State. It can happen everywhere. So, you know, and my thing is, I want us to do like what Tennessee Valley, right? Where the people is community owned, and they actually save a lot more money when it comes to their utilities. So if you live in a CBI state, I encourage you to try to look into doing a citizen battle initiative to put the utility companies in the hands of the people that it serves. Because there really should be no reason why. Because if we don't have a choice to choose within the free market, then no. Municipalize it. Stationalize it. No. We don't have a choice. And guess what? Then it has to be ours. And plus, when it comes to utilities, ultimately, it affects our very lives. And I'm not going to leave that to prophets. Anywho, did you like the stream? Go ahead and give the stream a like. And thank you so very much for watching. So I am going to go into, I'm going to go into the Rockfin chat really quick. Just to say hi. How hi? And let's talk about it as a community. All right. Good to see you, Anna. Says, hi, JB. Nice to see you. Nice to see you as well, Anna. See, let me check. I wonder if I have anybody in the Rumble chat. If I do, then that's cool. Not yet, but are there people watching? Yeah, there are people watching. Okay. So thank you for watching. All right. So let's go to the general chat. Y'all got some things to say. First off, I'm going to start off with this. Roger Meadows, thank you so very much. He says, run citizen ballot initiatives, making the existence of shareholder-owned infrastructure, utilities, hospitals, plus other medical facilities and institutions unconstitutional in your state. Yes. Make government owned and operated or government co-owned. I'm sorry. Make government owned and operated or government owned co-op operated. Yes, I agree. Make it so that it's like the post office, right? Like that. So let me go through the rest of the chat just to see what you guys are saying. Ooh, Kurt Boss says, when the Soviet Union collapsed, capitalism has been dehumanizing and profiteering our society ever since. Yeah, I heard there's a lot of things that came out. As soon as the Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of people started suffering way more. Way more. Let's see. Great Patine says the Communist Party in Russia is the second biggest party. Let's bring back the Soviet Union. Actually, you know what's interesting talking about that? Black Shirts and Reds actually talks about that too, about how well they were actually doing. I encourage everybody to read that, Black Shirts and Reds by Michael Parenti. Rondo says firefighters are actually necessary for a complex society. I agree. Thank you so very much. Look, here is my people who are in blue that I respect. It is firefighters, paramedics and EMTs, and postal workers. Those are the people in blue that I'm like, my people, I love you. Now, firefighters, y'all got to tighten up because some of y'all can have some white supremacist ideas. I'm just saying, y'all need to tighten up on that. But as far as the EMTs, paramedics, and as far as our male people for the postal service, y'all good with me. All right. Wadi says, are these ghost candidates entertaining like the characters on a TV show Ghost at Elite? I don't know. They probably have a lot of spew a lot of BS though. All right, Jacqueline, good to see you. She says, hi, everybody. Good to see you. All right. Good to see you also in the chat, Cobra Commander. All right, let's see. I'm so glad you guys got that. Yup, Vanguard and BlackRock. Oh, Rondo says Hydra. Hail Hydra. Cobra Commander says Nestle. Oh gosh, Nestle is a devil company too. Killing our waterways and all that. Yeah, Rondo. JP Morgan is fourth. Yep. Soul Contract says BlackRock, Vanguard, and JP Morgan own most of the US. We need to change that. Desert Manson says finance capital. Isn't it great? Yup. Oh my gosh. Yeah. They're horrible, horrible entities. Kill Your Greek Score says oligarchy. Democracy died years ago. Couple Commander says, but China. Everybody wants to blame China, but the thing is that China is not the reason why my utility bills are this high. China is not the reason why they're, what's going on in places like Congo. China is not the reason why we have crisis at the border because of our foreign policy in the drug war. It's not China is the reason why police are constantly shooting me in the back and the people who look like me in the back. It's not China's fault. Like, why are you blaming China for all of our problems? Y'all the ones that did NAFTA and then decided to ship your jobs overseas, thus making China into a powerhouse that it is. And then you guys were talking about, oh my God, but people in China, they don't make that much. Well, here's the thing. I thought that was considered innovation according to you guys, because that was propping up the job creators, because you guys don't agree with actually having a legit minimum wage. So if China was paying people starvation wages back in the day, then to you guys that was great, because then whose pockets is that improving? It's improving the pockets of the billionaires. But suddenly you guys, I'm sorry, hang on, let me take this down, because I'm about to go on a rant. Because suddenly a lot of people who are anti-China will talk about, oh my God, but they're not paying people a living wage. You guys didn't care about paying us a living wage here. Oh, suddenly it's a problem when China does it, but it's okay when you guys don't want to pay us a living wage here. But sit down. Have several seats, because y'all didn't give a shit about us. And now you suddenly care about people being paid a living wage in China? By the way, they're now saying that people in China who are working in these industries are now making competitive wages, because China said, okay, now we're going to demand you guys pay us all a living wage. No more are the days where they actually had to put out nets for people wanting to sacrifice or commit, off themselves because they couldn't make enough in China. Now the days are where if you're Chinese and you work and they're not willing to pay you a living wage, then guess what? They will take your ass on strike. And guess what? The Communist Party of China will stand right behind them and say, pay them a living wage. And now they have to, because the Chinese don't play that shit. The Chinese don't play it at all. The Chinese is like, y'all need to pay them a living wage or you out. And they don't want to leave that market, because that's a market of 1.4 billion people. So of course they don't want to leave. So guess what? They got to pony up the dough. Because China said, if you're gonna operate in our country, you're gonna pay our people. You're gonna pay our people a decent wage. Why? Because the CPC are like, yeah, we stand behind the workers. But yet, capitalism breeds innovation. Sorry, sorry guys, I'm getting kind of lit right now, but I'm just like seeing how people are. How many people in south of me in Florida? How many people here in Florida that are on Orlando Utilities or Duke Energy, where they're paying $300, $400, $500, $600 a month just in their electricity bills? I'm struggling with my electric bill right now. I'm literally struggling. Thanks for becoming patrons on the Patreon. But we're struggling. And we literally have to have what's called a power pass, which means we prepay our electric. By the way, they actually got rid of it a couple of years ago. But we were grandfathered in because, thankfully, But they actually had a program where you can actually prepay because our electric bill got so bad that we were always behind. So the company was like, okay, well, we can get on a plan where you pay, into almost like a fund. And so then once it goes down to a certain amount, then we alert you and let you know, oh, you only got like $20 left in your fund. You need to refill. Okay, then we need to go back in and pay like $250 in a month just so that we can refill it so that we can go through the rest of the month. And when summer comes in, it is horrible. And we're better than everybody else. We're paying like $250, $275 a month just for our electricity. And I'm on disability. Anyway, Lost Adult says, and they get that money from workers' 401k and use that money to control the system against those very same workers. Exactly. Thank you, Lost Adult. Make sure. Okay. Amanda Brinkley says, do you think we need to focus on Fortune 500 families and how they should actually be ethical and how the resources of the world are distributed? I don't think the power should be in their hands anymore. No. Mm-mm. It either should be one or two things. If it's an essential industry that our very lives depend on, then it should be community owned. And if it's not essential to our lives, like for instance, like a toy industry, something like that, or if we're going to go with like resource based, like for instance, timber, lumber, we're going to go things like lithium, things like that, then make it co-op, right? And if it's on our land or on within the confines of the United States, make it state owned or make it nationally owned, and the dividends that we get from sales to outside countries and outside companies, then those dividends get paid to us as citizens. Basically, I don't know. I think I've become more radicalized over the last year or so, but yeah. Oh, thank you, Amanda. I like how you guys of RBN always sharpen the clarity and complexity of my opinions and then make them more extremely for the people's opinions. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. All right. So I know you guys are putting in some great chats and I really would like to get to them all, but I want to make sure I move on to the next story, our primary story for today. Before I do that, please make sure to subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com so you guys are aware of whenever I have email notifications for whenever I go live, upload clips, or my written articles. So you guys can also go into that. Just to let you guys know as well, I'm also raising money for mutual aid here in Orlando. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to $Orlando RBN on Cash App. We're raising money principally for grocery gift cards and toiletries. So if you guys would like to, you guys can donate to that. So thank you so very much for that in advance. And yes, I will put the link in the chat just in case. Let me see. Oh. Okay. Thank you so very much. Let me see. All right. So thank you so very much to all of you. Okay. And also, just to let you guys know, thank you so very much to all the patrons on Patreon, the patrons on Coffee, as well as anybody that sends me mutual aid through PayPal. Just let you guys know, I am demonetized on my channel. I don't know when it's going to come back. I hope it comes back soon, but just to let you guys know, I am. If you like to support this channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal. Just as an aside, just to let you guys know, thank you so very, very much to all the patrons on Patreon and Coffee. Thank you so very much, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this vital work. Without you guys, there is no Jaybefaunt channel. So just to let you guys know that. Also, I want to share with you guys the Patreon, just so that if you guys are aware of the tiers. My Patreon, I try to make it as affordable as possible, because I know people, sometimes I want to support a channel, but I can't afford to, or their tiers are a little bit too high for me. So even though I have maybe $1, I wanted to contribute. So that's what I have. Let me just share that with you guys really quick, so you guys can see. So here are my tiers. So you have JB members. That's only $1 a month, right? So you have that. Then you have Solidarity, which is only $3 a month. Then you have Comrade, Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, and Mega Jaybefaunters. So thank you so very much to everyone who has been a contributor to the channel as well. Also, I have a shout out for a new patron on Patreon. We have Fat Man TV. Thank you so very much for becoming a new patron on Patreon. It means the world to me. Thank you, and forehead kisses to you as well. Thank you. All right, so what are we going to be talking about? Our primary story. Look, baby, I've been wanting to get into this. This is going to be good. Yemen is about that life. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. This is going to be a good one, baby. Oh. All right. So, I wish I had some liquor in this thing, because Yemen has been the MVP of the world for the last 6 weeks. 6 weeks or so. So if you got some drinks, bring it up for Yemen, because Yemen said they pulled a "you shall not pass." I was like, what? All right. So there was a story. There was a story out of country in Yemen. All right. So let me share this with y'all, because there. Hang on. Wait a minute. Where is it at? Okay. All right. So let me share with you guys what this article says. This article was good. This is out of the cradle. All right. Cradle. All right. It says Yemen will target Israeli vessels despite U.S.-led naval coalition. All right. So I will get into this article in a second. What has this led to? Let me share this tweet, because this tweet, they are shook. All right, so let me have it in my list. Here it goes. Yes. Okay. So, British Petroleum, you in danger, girl. So, this is from them. First of all, it says, breaking, BP says it will pause all shipments via the Red Sea, citing a threat posed by the Yemeni armed forces. 5 of the world's largest shipping firms have also halted operations in the vital lane, as Sana'a has pledged to target Israeli-linked ships in support of Gaza. You heard it here, folks. Look at, y'all heard it here, folks. This is big, because let me tell you right now, BP is one of the largest oil producers in the world, right? And Yemen said, do not pass go, do not collect $200. All right, let's get into this, because I want to read this. So And the funny thing is, they don't really necessarily say Yemen per se. They're trying to make it sound like it's really just a tribe or a certain group. Okay, so this is out of Bloomberg, and then we'll get into the cradle. The cradle. Oh, I have it. Okay. Actually, I can enlarge this even more because I really want y'all to. I want y'all to see all the deliciousness right here, right show. Oh, yeah. It says BP to pause all tanker transits through the Red Sea. All right. It says, now, here's the crazy, here's the, it's so stupid. They say, Iran back Houthis attacking ships in support of Hamas. Norway's equator says it too will start to avoid the Red Sea. You notice how they're saying Iran? That's not what it is. Anywho, let's continue. Let's get into this. It says BP PLC said it will pause all shipments through the Red Sea after attacks on merchant vessels escalated, adding to signs that trade through the vital waterway is grinding to a halt. BP's decision, the most tangible sign of disruption to energy flows since the Hamas-Israel war started. Let me stop right there, because this is how you know it's corporate media. They will always call it the Hamas-Israel war. It is, number one, it is not a war. A war denotes that there are two equal opposing sides. There is not two equal opposing sides. One side, you have the fourth largest military nuclear superpower in the world. On the opposite side, you have a band of paramilitary resistance fighters that are fighting against the fourth most powerful military in the world. That being said, it is unequal, meaning that you have one side, the paramilitary side, that ended the lives of largely 1,200, 1,200 occupiers that they went after that are a third military people, right? Versus the fourth largest military superpower in the world that's also a nuclear superpower that murdered 20,000 innocent people in a tiny strip of land that is densely populated. When you put it like that, that's how you know it is unequal. So it is not a war. It is a genocide and an ethnic cleansing. So this is how you know that Bloomberg is about that BS, because they're calling it a war when in reality it's a genocide. So I just want to stop that right there. Let's stop with the whole, oh my God, Israel-Hamas war. It is not a war. It is a genocide. And you have, it was not just one particular group. It is Palestinian resistance groups as well that are also fighting against the Zionist occupation that's happening in Israel. So just set that record straight, okay? This is how you know propaganda is afoot. Anyway, says comes days after all the world top container shipping lines said that they were temporarily halting. Norway's Equator ASA made a similar announcement hours later. Okay. So, actually, let me shrink that just a smidge. Okay. All right. Says the move comes as a fuel tanker was struck by an unidentified object on Monday, according to its owner. Attacks are now occurring almost daily. An insurance committee that evaluates maritime risk widened the area in the Red Sea and said it was the most dangerous. Said the disruptions are a stark reminder of the inflationary and economic pressures that make securing the area a top priority. The U.S. and its allies are working on a plan to do that, but hasn't been finalized yet. Avoiding the Red Sea means sailing around Africa, adding thousands of miles to voyages and delaying cargo deliveries. Do you know how big Africa is? Don't look at your maps right now, because some of those maps are inaccurate, because they make Africa way smaller than what it actually is. Africa is massive. It is the second largest continent on Earth. Africa is gargantuan. So, for them to have to, instead of going through into the Red Sea, they literally have to dip all the way down, go around Africa, past, past Madagascar, past South Africa, and to go all the way up. And remember, Africa comes out way out here because it's shaped like a backwards P, right? And then you have to go all the way around and then up and through the Mediterranean, and then you can get in through. That's the only way you can get into, to go towards Israel. So because of all that, that's a major inconvenience, and it's very costly as well. So let me share this. So this is what's going on. Let me share this as well. It says 2 big oil tankers, Maris Tankers and Uranov NV, also said late last week that they're insisting on options giving them the right to avoid the area. On Monday, Uranov went a step further, saying it will avoid the area altogether. So these oil tankers are not going through the Red Sea. It says, and this is the Israel link. It says the Iran-backed Houthis say that they are targeting any vessels with a connection to Israel as a response to the country's war with Hamas. Those links have appeared increasingly tenuous in the past week or so, and the owner of the tanker that was attacked on Monday, the Swan Atlantic, said there was no connection. Says there's no Israeli link to the ownership, Norwegian, technical management, Singapore, of the vessel, nor in any parts of the logistical chain of the cargo transported. That's from Reiber & Son, said in a statement on his website. A tanker was transporting biofuel feedstock to La Réunion from France when it came under attack. There was no injuries, and the vessel is sailing using its own machinery with all systems operational. So, under oil and gas, it says Europe's headline natural gas price surged as much as 13%. Because guess what? If they have to spend all this money to transport the fuel, the shareholders aren't going to say, well, we have to make less money. The CEOs are going to be like, well, we're going to take less pay. No, they're going to pass that on to whom? The cost of it to whom is going to be passed on? To the people who literally have to purchase that oil and gas. So if you're in Europe or if you're in Israel and you're getting that oil and gas, if that oil and gas is to your gas stations, your petrol, or if it has to go to your power plants, guess who's paying more for energy? Guess who's paying more for gas? Because now they got to go all the way around Africa just to get it, which means that cost is going to be passed on to whom? Bingo! So let's continue. This is honestly, this is a very good news story. We're going to clap it up for these people who are literally causing this to happen, because we're going to get into their reasons why. It says, we will keep this precautionary pause under ongoing review, subject to circumstance as they evolve in the region. It says BP and Equinor's approach will put pressure on other firms to follow suit. Equinor chose to route ships in the area, but hasn't taken a decision on further activities. It says the Norwegian oil and gas company is following the situation closely. It says a crewing company that puts thousands of crew on ships from a pool of more than 44,000 workers said earlier that is advising owners to consider alternatives to the Red Sea. Now they say crew welfare. Says BP said that the welfare of his crew and the company's priority, underscoring that the commercial pressures are, for now at least, taking a backseat in the decision of many of the world's largest firms. The Suez Canal, which is the canal that goes through Egypt, emerged as the main route for global LNG, which is liquefied natural gas trade, over the past 2 weeks, bolstered by Europe's appetite for the super chilled fuel as the main replacement for piped Russia gas. Its importance has amplified this year as an Asia-bound cargoes take longer routes amid Panama Canal congestion. The liquefied natural gas vessel Celsius Geneva, heading empty Suez last Friday, diverted away from the Red Sea to go a longer route via the Cape of Good Hope instead. Ship tracking data on Bloomberg show Gunnover Group, which controls the carrier, declined to comment on why. So that's out of Bloomberg, right? So they're basically saying the Iran-backed Houthis are the reason why that they can't get their ships faster and sooner and cheaper to Israel. Well, let's take a look at this. So let's take a look at what the Yemenis said. Actually, hang on. Before I get into that, sorry, I want to share this as well because this gives you more context. Okay. Yes. All right. So I want to give you guys context so things make a little bit more sense. So REJ, thank you so much for this, says, the Yemenis are so badass, man. Says the U.S. Eisenhower aircraft carrier is 70 miles distance from the Djibouti, and Yemeni speedboats continue their patrol of warding off ships in the same area. Yemen fought against American military equipment for 9 years. They aren't scared of anything. So let's take a look at this. So here's Djibouti, right? So this is right near the Horn of Africa. And so they need to get through here to get into the Red Sea. But they are blocking them and making sure that they can't get in. The Yemenis are saying, hell no, you ain't getting in there. So this is from, all right, so here is the report. All right, so, and if you guys look here, here is going into the Red Sea, right? We see what that red circle is. Let me enlarge this. See what that red circle is, right? But if you go into the Red Sea, the only way that you can get into to go around, let me see if I can enlarge here. The only way you can get into Israel, which is further up here, is you have to go around through the Red Sea and into the Suez Canal, which is what Egypt operates. But if you are blocking this little entrance right there, then guess what? You can't go in. So with that being said, because the Yemenis are literally blocking it, then guess what, chicken butt? They literally have to go all the way around Africa. Let me see if I can. Let me get a map of Africa up, so just so you can guys see. I just want to, because this is a teachable moment. I can do this. All right. So, okay. So let me share my screen really quick here, just so that we can get more context, because I want everybody to see geographically how this works. So if you guys can see, let me shrink that, and then let's go. Okay, so here, right here, can you guys see? I hope you guys can. Okay, yes, you guys can see. All right, so here, so you have Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia, and then you also have Yemen, which is down here. So in between that little itty bitty area, See, in order for them to be able to ship through there, they have to go through the Red Sea, they have to go through the Suez Canal. If not, then what they have to do is they have to, and let me pan out here, you literally have to go all the way down. And Africa is massive. You have to go all the way down through the Indian Ocean, past Madagascar, under South Africa, and then you have to go up here all the way over and then through into the Mediterranean. So that is a massive inconvenience. Massive. And it takes a lot of money in order to be able to do that, which is money that they do not have. So let's get into the article because I want to share this with you guys as well. And then I also have a clip to show you. So it says Yemen will target Israeli vessels despite U.S.-led naval coalition. It says in response to U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's announcement on the creation of a multinational naval operation to patrol the Red Sea, Yemen's Ansarullah-led government said that they will continue targeting the Israeli-linked ships in a strategic shipping corridor. Quote, our position will not change in the direction of the Palestinian issue, whether a naval alliance is established or not. Ansarullah official Mohammed Abdullah Salam told Reuters, stressing that not only Israeli ships or those going into Israel will be targeted. So the only ones that are targeted are ones that are headed for Israel. Our position in support of Palestine and the Gaza Strip remain until the end of the siege. The entry of food and medicine and our support of the oppressed Palestinian people will remain continuous. So ultimately, this is in solidarity with the Palestinian people. That's why Yemen is doing this. Because they said no energy to Israel until Palestinians are supported, until ceasefires are obtained, Palestinians get food, fuel, electricity, and all the things they need, and they are no longer massacred in the region. That's solidarity. That's what Yemen is doing. And guess what? They're doing it with speedboats. That's what Yemen is doing. Let's continue. Announcing the naval operation on December 18th, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said during a visit to Bahrain that joint patrols will be held in the southern Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, which encompass a major east-west global shipping route. He says this is an international challenge that demands collective action. Ansarallah's commitment to oppose what they and others describe as Israel's campaign of genocide against the people of Gaza has led the group to seize an Israeli-linked ship and launch attacks on over a dozen others. The resistance group has also launched missiles at the Israeli port city of Eilat since the start of the war on the 7th of October to oppose Israel's horrific bombing campaign on Gaza that has killed almost 20,000, the majority women and children. So, by the way, just to let you guys know, as far as when they took over these ships, from what I can tell, what I've seen, and that's been reported by Yemen, no harm has been done to the ship's crews. They have been taken over peacefully. If they take over the ships, if the ships don't turn around, they board the ships, they take them, they say, nope, you guys are not operating the ship anymore, and we're diverting the ship away. We're not taking, you guys are not getting this oil and gas is not going to Israel. Turn around, leave. They're saying you are not going there. And if they check that their destination is not going to Israel, then they let them go. But if their destination is going to Israel, nah, you ain't going there. Nope. That's what Yemen is doing. Because they're saying if the people in Gaza are going to continue to suffer, Israel's not going to have any energy. And energy, as anybody knows, is extremely important. Extremely important. Why do you think that the United States has been at war in Afghanistan, Syria, and in Iraq for all those years? Energy, largely energy. So that's how important it is. Why was the Nord Stream 2 pipeline bombed? Because of its importance. Energy is extremely important. So let's continue in this article. It says on Tuesday, a British maritime security firm, Ambry, reported a potential boarding attempt of a vessel 17 miles of Yemen's port city of Aden, adding that the attack was successful and all crew were safe. Yemeni attacks on ships in the Red Sea have disrupted maritime trade through the Suez Canal, with commercial ships traveling from Asia westward to Europe, choosing instead to travel around the southern tip of Africa. The detour, this is important, adds 2 weeks to the shipping times and it increased costs significantly. This is damaging to them financially. Yes, that's what it is. It's making it too expensive. Right? All right. Despite Secretary of Defense Austin's announcement, AP Moller Maersk AS, which owns a fleet of more than 300 container ships and controls many more, said Tuesday it will divert its fleet around Africa. Ships firms are waiting to see if the U.S. plan to counter Ansarallah will be successful. Once we see what the effect of this increased security in the area will be for shipping, companies will make an assessment based on that. But it is very early days for that now. Says there are 67 container ships that have rerouted around Africa, and another 75 that are delayed and waiting instructions about which route to take. So, and this is the point. It says, in an editorial published on Sunday, the Wall Street Journal called the disruptions the most significant threat to global shipping in decades. That's how serious this is. Now, let's take a look here. Let me share this clip. Yemen said, not today. No, not today. All right. Let's go.
During a press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the U.S. Defense Minister announced a new international mission in the Red Sea, aimed at countering the maritime threat posed by Yemen's Houthi rebels.
In the Red Sea, we're leading a multinational maritime task force to uphold the bedrock principle of freedom of navigation. Iran's support for Houthi attacks on commercial vessels must stop.
This is a battle against the Iranian axis of terror, which is now threatening to close the maritime Strait of Bab el-Mandeb. This threatens the freedom of navigation of the entire world.
Well, it comes after U.S. Central Command said 2 commercial shipping vessels were recently targeted by the Houthis. An oil tanker came under a drone and missile attack, and a cargo ship reported an explosion in waters near its location. No injury.
Now, I just want to make something very abundantly clear. These ships do not have actual defenses. It's just regular civilians that are working on these ships in order to get this oil there. So when you have Oh my gosh. Sorry. Forgot I had my window open. Anyways, so when you have these ships that are operating, you have these people who are, in military gear that board the ship that are like, no, stop this ship. Either turn it around or we'll turn it around for you. But again, the crews are largely unharmed. And it's not like they're stealing it. They're just saying, turn around. You're not going there. So let's continue.
Were reported in either incident. It follows last month's dramatic scenes when the rebels stormed an Israeli-linked cargo vessel. Well, just days before the reported strikes, Iran's defense minister said that any multinational task force in the Red Sea would face, quote, extraordinary problems.
If the US makes such an irrational move, they will be faced with extraordinary problems. Nobody can make a move in a region where we have predominance.
Well, we heard from the co-founder of the International Action Center activist grouping, Sarah Flounders, who is very much of the view the US often uses Iran as an excuse to escalate tensions in the region.
The U.S. military, the U.S. government has always tried to blame Iran for any resistance which comes from below, from the people themselves. There was a huge, powerful movement in Yemen, not created by Iran. Of course, they blame the very existence of Hamas on Iran. Iran didn't create Hamas. What's dangerous right now is that there may be an effort to really expand the war because it's becoming so disastrous for Israel. There's no way out for them. And so they're raising new threats of a wider war. That's very dangerous. All the people of the world. And
so, like she said, they're going to blame Iran for all this, when in reality, Yemen's like, no, we're doing this on our own. But the thing is like, Yemen is not demonized like it is here in the United States, like Iran is. So when you're talking about, sorry, I'm pronouncing it the American way, Iran. The problem is that Iran is constantly being demonized in the United States as some radical government, when in reality, ultimately, if you really want to criticize any entity, you want to criticize, what the United States did, because Iran, was largely more of a secular government back in the 1950s. But the United States decided that, no, we're gonna get rid of Mohammed Mossadegh. Wait, did I get Mohammed Mossadegh? Yeah. So they basically got rid of Mohammed Mossadegh and replaced him with a Shah, right? That was the United States doing, because they didn't want Iran to use their oil, use their fossil fuels that they actually had, and benefits largely of the people, which is how you got BP. So now BP's like, we can't, we gotta go around Africa. What do you want us to do? It's crazy. Anywho, she's cooking. Let's let her finish cooking.
And the U.S. is claiming that this is a multinational maritime task force. We'll see, because certainly the shipping companies of the world, the major ones, are deciding not to use the Red Sea. And so that will drive up shipping costs for Israel. That's a big blow that's happening right now. They can't blame Iran on any of that. But they always want to blame someone, not their own policies. And that's who's to blame.
So it's getting costly for Israel. It's getting costly for them. And the longer they allow this massacre to continue, the longer that Yemen's going to be blocking that entrance. And Yemen keeps blocking that entrance, guess what's going to happen? Then I guess then their prices are going to go up extremely high. And Yemen said, we ain't messing around. Now, this is from their military spokesperson, Iran and Yemen. Yahya Sari. Let me enlarge this. Oh, I already have it enlarged. He says, this is what he said. He said, with the help of God Almighty, the naval forces of Yemeni armed forces carried out a specific military operation against two ships linked to the Zionist entity. The first was the oil carrier Swan Atlantic, and the other was the MSC Clara, ship carrying containers. They were targeted by two sea drones. The operation was launched owing to the ship's crew refusal to respond to calls directed by Yemeni naval forces. The Yemeni army forces reassure all ships heading to all ports across the world, except for Israeli ports, would be safe and must keep the identifying devices open. The Yemeni armed forces will not hesitate to target any ship that violates what was stated in its previous statements. The Yemeni armed forces vows to continue to prevent the navigation of vessels heading to Israel until enough food and medicine are allowed into Gaza, where our steadfast brothers are in dire need of inside the strip. So that is the reason why they are doing what they're doing. And this is causing these energy companies, these gas companies, so much money and so much time. Because to go around the continent of Africa is a 2-week trip. 2 weeks. Today's the 19th. If a ship was near the Red Sea right now, and if they had to go around the southern tip of Africa to get to Israel, or just in the region, period, they wouldn't get there till first week of January from now. So that's how it is. That's why I said Yemen is about that life. Because Yemen said, you're not going to be doing this against the Palestinian people on our watch, and get away with it. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. I mean, this is wild, man. Let me see. Yep. So, did you guys like the stream? Go ahead and give the stream a like. Oh boy. For more deliciousness. Yes. All right, so let me go into the chat. This is wild, man. I saw this, I was just like, damn, because I saw what Yemen was doing over the last few weeks or so. But it's intensified. It's intensified like tenfold. All right, so let me go here. Amanda says, just had a just had a JB actually made Africa seem as huge as it actually is. I had a teacher do that every time I had class when I took astronomy class in college about Earth and then Sun, Milky Way, and universe. Jacqueline says profits are BP's priority. Workers' welfare doesn't come in the top 10 of BP's priorities properly. Absolutely. Let me see. Kurt Boss says they'll make sure we pay their bills. That's how they always roll. Yemen has balls, unlike the cowards of capitalist West. Yep. Kill Your Griever says, tell your government this oil belongs to Yemen now until BB stops bombing the babies. Lou says, we've been at war in these resource producing countries, not for access to the resources, but to keep them scarcer and drive prices up, as well as control who gets the profits from them. Thank you so very much for that. Geo says, I saw a video of Yemen using missiles on at least one ship. I don't blame them one bit, though. Only way Zionists will listen. Mm-mm-mm. Cobra Commander says, big ups to the Iranian Axis. But here's my question. Why in the world is he trying to sound like George W. Bush with the axis of evil when in reality, like, here's the funny part. Remember when Donald Trump murdered their defense minister? Was it Qasem Soleimani? Donald Trump did that and almost got us into a war with Iran. And Qasem Soleimani was actually fighting against ISIS. One thing, and I just learned, is ISIS actually hates Hamas. They don't like them because ISIS is actual terrorists. That's why. Whereas you have resistance groups in Palestine. So, yeah, ISIS don't like them. So, when it comes to their sovereignty, Yemen is just trying to make sure that the Palestinian people don't keep dying. Gio says the entire world. He's saying, pretending everyone that isn't the West doesn't exist, right? Hence, Steve said, it's amazing how much power the unpowerful people have. Absolutely. Thank you so very much for saying that, because that is true. Everybody needs to realize their power. Miguel says, go Yemen, free Palestine. Hello, Myra. Nice to have you. Geo says, Jaybefaunt, Yemen's actions have been mostly peaceful, but I have seen video of Yemen using missiles on one Zionist ship. That's resistance. See, Dust James says, solidarity. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Good to see you. All right. Oh, Norman. Such a charmer. Do all things with love, says ISIS, Israeli secret intelligence. Ah! Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. All right. Tool Druid says JB keeping it real, 100% free Palestine. Thank you so very much, everybody. All right. So if you guys have not, please make sure to give the stream a like as well, because that's very important. I appreciate it. Let me just check the Rumbles, the Rumble peeps to see if anybody had commented so far. Okay, long-time listener says cost of living is a lot less in China, actually, so people are getting a living wage there. Oh, thank you, long-time listener. All right. Big ups to you. Thank you. On the Rumble side. Thank you for being there. All right. So, just to let you guys know, I was eating crackers earlier. Sorry. So if you JB, get it together, man. So as you guys know, I will be doing the reading continuing of Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. As you guys know, I'm constantly reading books on my channel. So if you guys have not, then I will be continuing the reading of that as well. I'm thinking about doing a special New Year's Eve stream on this channel this Sunday. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. But I'm thinking about doing a special New Year's Eve stream because why not? It's New Year's Eve. I'm sorry, Christmas Eve. Sorry, I'm getting my days mixed. Christmas Eve stream. I don't know. I might do New Year's Eve too. I don't know. It wouldn't be like too late, but anywho. But yeah, so I would like to do that. So if you guys are interested, just let me know, especially in the comments in the chat. But that's what I'll be doing. So thank you very much for that. And I'm trying to think did I remember everything? I think so. So once again, thank you so very much to all the patrons on Patreon. Thank you so very much to all the patrons on Coffee, as well as anybody that sends me anything through PayPal. So also, a big thank you to everyone who has sent me something through PayPal as well, or Coffee. Thank you. That means the world because I am literally struggling today. So it's been a lot. But please also make sure to tune in and support independent media because that is the crux of information that is necessary to get to you so that we won't be bamboozled by corporate media. I think that's the best way to put it. So yeah, please make sure to support independent media as well. So let me see. I think there was something I was going to close with. Let me see. Also, if you guys have not, I'll put this in there just in case if you guys have not already. I'm going to share with you guys this. Make sure to, after you guys are finished watching my channel, I want you guys to watch this docuseries. Okay? Reason why is because I think this is important. Okay? So I'm gonna share that there. I'm gonna share it in Rockfin and Rumble. Okay? So that you guys have that. Because this is important. All right. All right. Now, there you go. So it's in Rockman and Rumble and Twitch. So you guys got that. please make sure to watch that docu-series. KD Lewis has already seen it. He says the lobby is fire. Yes, watch it. I'm telling you right now, this will educate you on what's going on in this country via a foreign government. Anywho, thank you so very much, everybody, for tuning in. I wanted to make this just a little bit of a shorter stream because I don't want to take too much of your time. But thank you so very much to everybody. Oh, I forgot. I'm not going to play too much of this because even though I'm demonetized, I don't want to get a copyright strike. But I'm going to show y'all. This. This is Yemen right now. Let me share with y'all this. Y'all gonna remember this. This is Yemen.
Right. That's a fifth floor problem.
Not in my house.
That's all I'm not gonna share the whole thing. But if you guys remember that ad from Geico, I'll put that in the chat. Because that ad is hilarious. Because the Kinde Matumbo, when he was like, no, that was Yemen. That was Yemen at the Red Sea, baby. That's exactly what it was. Boy, he said, do not pass go, do not collect $200. All right, everybody. I'm going to head on out because my behind is too goofy. But anyway, look, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny or read something hilarious because joy is revolutionary. And guess what? Bring it here because I know you want it. I want forehead kisses to every single one of you because you guys make the world brighter. And I love you. Thank you so very much. By the way, second forehead kiss. Why? Because it's Christmas. Merry Christmas to you.